There's a hierarchy system in HTML. Similar to how emperors thousands of years ago used to have a very strict hierarchy, only in HTML we use a different terminology. To start, let's look at one element. If we have just one element and nothing else, this would be the parent element. This div here, this blue box, that is our first element in a hierarchy. We added the blue background so that we can see the next element quite easily, just so you know it doesn't have to have a specific background color. Now the first element is the parent element, or a node as it's also called, and our hierarchy is used in reference to a family. So let's create a child element. So if we look at the code before we even look at the image here, we have our blue background div, and inside of it we have our first child, and this one has a red background. So because our red background div is inside the tags of the blue background one, the red background div would be the child of the blue background. Now we can go even one step farther and create grandchildren. Same thing here. We have a blue background, then a red background, and we're going to create a grandchild with a white background. Now let's put this in terms of a real family. Let's say blue was your parent, your mom or your dad, your guardian. The red one would be you, and the white one would be your first child. Now in perspective, if we look at DNA, your child will have similar DNA traits from you and your parent, and this is called inheriting. We'll cover inheritance a little bit more in CSS. Now along with having children, you or your parents can have siblings. Just like how you have aunties and uncles, brothers and sisters, or other children, if we added another child to our colorful example, it'd look like this. So quickly, looking at the code, we have our blue one, then our red one, we have a white one, and we have another white one. Now because the second white one is not inside the first white one, and both white divs are inside the red one, as in they share the same parent, then these two divs, these white ones here, are brother and sister, or as we call it, a sibling. All of this is called the DOM tree, or the Document Object Model tree. And here's what this looks like in an actual image using HTML from an actual page. We start off the page with the HTML element, and then we broke off into the head element. Inside here we have the title tag with our text inside of it, and a meta tag. We could actually have potentially dozens of meta tags, as we covered earlier. And over here, from the other side of the head, we have the body. And in the body, we can have our h1, which will have our text in there. You can have an image. Well, you put nothing inside an image, so it doesn't have any children. You can have a paragraph, which has regular text. It can also have emphasized text, and it has its content inside of it. So now very quickly, we have our parent, HTML, two children, head and body. The head has two children, and the body has three children. Now the content, the boxes where you see the word text, don't actually count as children. They're actually just part of the element. So text would not be a child. However, EM would be a child of paragraph. So you might ask yourself, why is this important to know? Well, because down the road when you're using JavaScript and jQuery, and you want to manipulate your HTML, sometimes we need to know how the hierarchy system works. For example, we have our white box from above. If we select that in JavaScript and we wanted to select its parent box, which was the red one, we could tell it to search for the parent node. Instead of writing a whole new set of code, we could simply select the parent one. And that is the document object model, or the HTML hierarchy.